Hey everyone, this is Joey again at SEO Services. Thank you for tuning in. I know it's been a while, but I do want to talk about a very important topic today, which is what's the future for SEO, right? I mean, curiously, every time there's like a new update in Google's algorithm or there's new technologies trying to disrupt the market trends, people start to question, hey, is SEO still going to be around? Do we still need to worry about SEO? Well, in my opinion, my quick opinion is, yes, it's still there. I mean, unless one day Google is able to use AI, it might eventually one day to, automatically pull the best metadata or help, filter the best quality content for respective searches, then we still need people to monitor and QA the quality. Because obviously, if you type certain keywords still in the search engine, sometimes like Google, you will notice that the quality of the results is still okay. Sometimes it's not because of their problem; it's because there is not good content either. Alright, so that's why we come in, right? That's why we still need to create quality content to help fulfill the search demand that's out there. But real quick, previously everyone was talking about voice search. So there's mentions of like Siri for Apple, Alexa, which is Amazon's assistant, and Google Home or Google Assistant. These things are more and more popular, used, especially in certain countries. In America, Amazon Alexa obviously is used heavily, more than like other places like China. It's not, because Amazon doesn't exist. But China, for instance, mobile voice query searches are very popularly used, and also probably in like economies where it's not as strong, so people can't really purchase computers. They end up purchasing mobile phones first. So because of mobile usage, imagine when you're trying to type query, sometimes it's not as easy as typing on a computer or a desktop. So using voice search has become more and more prevalent. And also understand like different demographics, like older age groups, like really old, for instance. It's almost impossible for them to type things out. It'll take forever. It's easier for them to use voice search. So voice search is going to be a very important part of the future trend for SEO and the search landscape. The other one is visual search, which I'll talk about later. But real quick, so back then SEO was all about, basically just stuffing keywords, right? It is still in some ways, but the way we do it needs to change in order to prevent Google from penalizing us, right? Google is getting smarter. Its AI is able to figure out, okay, who's manipulating their algorithm, right? So that's why there's white hat, SEO versus black hat. People are still using black hat. Trust me, it's still out there. In different countries, Google is not able to catch it as strictly as America. America obviously is going to be very tough because that's where the hub, the Google's headquarters. So they may want to make sure America is really on point. But if you go to like some other countries, you'll notice that it seems to not be entirely consistent. But Google might say otherwise. But this is just speaking from experience, all right? And eventually Google will definitely get there, I'm sure. So back then it's really just sticking keywords. Keywords are there, it's gonna show up. But now Google's gonna figure it out. Are you just stuffing the same keywords so many times on the page that it's going to be considered black hat or spam? Just not user friendly. It's not really for users, for search engine. Google's starting to change their algorithm to focus on catching these issues. So it's shifting more towards from just doing these minute tasks like keyword stuffing, optimizing pages, to more about strategy, really, when you think about it. And then backlinks is still very important. All right, backlinks is still the core of Google's algorithm, and I believe the reason why Google is able to outcompete all the other search engines that we saw, including Bing still right now, and Yahoo back then. I'm sure there's other old ones that we all know. Hotbot, Lycos, Netscape. No, actually, that's a browser. Sorry, but you know what I'm saying. Like, there's other search engines that existed in the past. The reason why Google was able to dominate in the world pretty much is because of their link algorithm. They use link to figure out, okay, why does this page has value? Why should I give this page position 1? Because if it has a lot of links, not just that, but a lot of high quality links from websites that have high traffic, for instance, from, I don't know, CNN, from New York Times, or from e-commerce sites, right, that have a lot of traffic, or news sites, then more likely your page that get a link from them is going to help tell Google that you have good quality, can contribute to good engagement when people are searching and visiting your pages. So backlinks is still important. They're trying to remove it because, again, people are using black hat methods building links and they don't like it, which is, I believe, is the right path. Why should sites that just buy a lot of links get high rankings, right? It's not fair. So they're trying to fix that still. I think it's really getting to a really good position, but I'm sure there's still some issues, but they're gonna get there. And eventually they might even remove backlinks from the algorithm because they tried it, but at that time when they did it, the quality of the search results is still not good. So I'm sure they're still working it out. It's going to shift more towards like mention. If you mention a specific word or brand company in an article, Google is trying to get to the point where it's going to understand, okay, that's why your page, website, brand is important, because other pages aren't mentioned, which means it's just keywords and not actual links. So yeah, backlinks is still here to stay, but just letting you guys know, it might shift towards mentions. But for now, SEO trend previously, we all know desktop was heavily used, and then it shifted to mobile, and that's why page 1 became so important. Now, instead of, are you still ranking on page 2 and 3? Desktop back then, people will scroll to page 2 and 3 still. But now, when you're using a mobile phone, if you can imagine, like, why would you want to do that when you don't have such a small screen? That's why page 1 is so important. And really, in the future, position 1 through 5, I believe, at least, it's going to be even more critical in the future. And even voice search, based on studies, like what it does, it only takes content on the page 1, all right, and probably going to be position 1 to 3 or 1 to 5 eventually, if it isn't already. So it's going to get harder and harder to rank well in organic search. Now let's talk about AI, right? It's like the hot topic these days. AI is going to be very important. Voice search is really already doing that, all right? So how does really AI work with search and voice search? Well, if you imagine if you're using your Siri, right, or Google Assistant or Amazon Alexa, for instance, it's able to respond quickly to your queries, even when you're changing your queries really quick. So I'll give a scenario. All right, okay, Google, I want to buy a t-shirt, and then it's going to tell you like, all right, here's what I find, blah 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 blah, based on the database. All right, so obviously, if I'm correct, Google is using Google search engine. Amazon, if I'm correct, it's using Bing's search engine information, right? And then Siri, eventually, I think Apple I remember they mentioned they want to build their own search ecosystem. So imagine everyone's trying to dominate this industry, and if you're pulling information from other places, they know that eventually they're not gonna make the most out of it, in terms of revenue. So they want trying to do this on their own. But anyway, so imagine the polls result after you say, I want to buy a teacher, and it gives you, oh, here are some of the top, results for, teacher recommendation. But I'm sure it's going to be so vague and not specific enough to your needs. So you might have to retailor that search query to, okay, Google, I want to buy, black t-shirts. And then again, it's going to show, right? It's fast. It can respond to, it's almost like talking, right, to somebody, conversational search. This is what it's called. And then you like, all right, I want to buy, a t-shirt that's under blah 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 price. I want under $50 t-shirts. I want to have a logo of surfing on it, something like that, right? So imagine when you're searching on the mobile phone or desktop, it's not going to be as fast as voice search. Voice search is really the fastest way. It's going to be here to stay in the future. All right. And then AI, the best part about it, it's going to respond back to whatever you ask, as long as this database can cover it, right? If it can cover almost any topics that you ask, that means it's a strong database. Because I know there are some questions that Siri and OK Google won't be able to respond back to, but one day it will. The other thing is AI is going to also help monitor the bad black hat methods too. It will. So that's why AI is going to be so critical to the trend of search and SEO. And then speaking of AI, we're going to talk about content and generating content automatically, right? I'm sure a lot of people are using it already. There's tests already done by big companies to prove to Google that say, hey, you said that we can't use AI because, well, it didn't say you can't use AI, but they were saying you shouldn't just strictly build out content using AI. That's what they're saying. And then company was able to prove that, hey, AI content works in SEO and does rank. The reason being is because they're using people to monitor and QA the content. That's why. So if you're using AI to generate content and you don't have anyone to QA monitor it, then it's probably not going to do well, because Google's algorithm is going to be able to catch, even if it doesn't now, it will, to catch which content is AI generated completely. And understand, Google does care about duplicate content, right? If your content is like almost exactly the same as another content, right? 50% or higher is duplicate, then guess what? It's not going to rank well, because basically what's happening is both content is going to be competing for the same keyword. This week is this content ranking well. Next week is this content ranking well. It's like you're not going to get consistent traffic, right? And you're probably not going to rank on position 1 because somebody has more unique content and better content, and you're only competing for like maybe at most bottom of position, page 1, and maybe even for page 2 and 3 positions. All right, so something to be aware of is that AI will never replace entirely the process needed, the people, stakeholders needed to develop strong quality content. But what I believe AI can really do is to help generate ideas, give us inspiration, quickly, and also help with the grammar, spell check. That's what I believe AI is going to be able to help fulfill those tasks that AI should be able to help. Maybe not right now, but I believe in the future it will. So in the end, what needs to be done still by human beings is just making sure the content all makes sense together, right? AI may be able to give us pieces of content, but we still need to put it all together and make sense, and making sure there's no errors, using AI to help with that. And another very important thing is because AI will never be an expert, right? Unless it has all the information, right? But that really comes from us, right? Humans giving it information. So one thing for sure, I believe, is that maybe like, when AI gets really, really good, all right, maybe it will be able to come up with its own idea. However, I think there's a human aspect to this where I don't think AI can do. Is just being able to create something from nothing, and being able to innovate something from scratch that's never been done before. AI may be able to do some of that, but in terms of like really, really innovative stuff, I believe only humans' creativity can do it. Yeah, and then even some of the critical thinking and strategic thinking, for now, AI is not able to do it, so human must do that. But maybe in the future, it might be able to do some of that type of thinking and work. But I still believe in the end, human will still be, our brain power will still be. In some ways, there are some things that only we can do and they can't do. User experience, page speed. This has been talked about for a few years now. I think this is kind of old, but just to let anyone know that doesn't know yet, page speed is a Google ranking factor. All right. For now, it's definitely difficult to make a page speed fulfill Google's. It has its own tool, page speed insight. Feel free to use it. Use it to check your page speed score. If you're not in the green zone, according to Google, it's not good. But in my opinion, if you're in the yellow, that's good enough. Good yellow score zone. Most websites are probably still in the red score zone. But one thing to consider is just understand the way it measures the score is because it considers everyone's the majority of the population and what they're using, the device and Wi-Fi speed, right? So believe it or not, some people are probably still using 3G in the world, right? So its standard is at 4G right now, even though some of us are using 5G. But imagine, if your site is not fast enough for 4G, that means you might need to think about what we need to fix. And a lot of times it's the images. The images honestly shouldn't be that big in file size, right? They actually recommend to keep, the experts out there always say try to keep it under 1 megabyte. 1 megabyte, can you imagine? I'm sure most of the visual content are beyond 1 megabyte. So imagine like the standard is that low. So if your content is like 20 megabytes and up, forget about it. You need to compress it. You need to make it smaller. You need to make sure when you upload the visual content to the web cloud server is exactly the same size that you actually just need to show on the site. If you give like a 12,000 by 16,000, 1200 by 1600 visual, which is like a desktop like wallpaper size, but the website, we all know it's only that, that's all we need. Then why would you upload that to the so there's a lot of tactical ways to fix this. The image formats you use, such as JPEG, is probably the most recommended. PNG is good, but JPEG is probably still the best. And WebP is a format that Google created. So if you use WebP, obviously you can imagine it just benefits Google more. Mobile optimizing. This is a little bit old now too, but in case some people don't know yet, but making sure your website is responsive, using responsive web design is the quickest way to fix this. What it means is just really making sure when your website is shown on different devices, on desktop, computer, laptop, mobile devices, tablet, it will automatically resize everything, images, text, wording, font sizes, right, to the proper dimensions so it shows properly. If you don't have that, then that's why it's not mobile optimized, and that's why sometimes on certain devices people's engagement are not as strong, right? But definitely want to optimize the website based on mobile standards and not based on desktop standards anymore. All right. Local SEO is going to be more and more important. It's always has been, especially for small and mid-sized businesses. They need it. They rely on this because they can't target like the broad terms and really vague terms that large enterprises are probably owning. So that's why they got to go niche and go long tail keywords that are more than three words. They're considered long tail because there's definitely less search volume there, but there's less competition. And sometimes it's actually higher conversion or higher engagement terms for these small and mid-sized businesses. And that's why they go for these terms. Believe it or not, large enterprises can use this strategy as well. All right, because you understand, you want to get the converting customers, TA, that are searching. These words, long tail, local queries technically are also considered to be these more engaging terms for audience. So yeah, local is going to be ever more important because I didn't mention this before, but personalized search is going to be the future as well, right? People, Google is already doing that. If you log into Google, and if you search for restaurants and on Google Maps, how do you think it's going to give you those recommendations? It obviously understands where you're located specifically right now, right? Maybe your past search history, like what type of restaurants you like, things like that. And that's how it generates more relevant content and quality content, so to speak. So when you type like near me, those queries are considered local, right? Or where to buy, finding a store near, in specific city, right? Those are local queries, and those are very high converting queries. But the future of local will definitely be more and more important. Considering even like how it connects to extended reality, or well, people don't understand. It's not just virtual reality. Virtual reality is when you're using like a VR headset and you're fully immersive in that environment. And then you got Pokemon Go, the previous hot trend, right? You see your mobile phone, you use it, and then you can see Pokemon. But in real life, it's not there. Well, that's also part of extended reality. It's called augmented reality, right? So imagine Google local search, like it can easily do that. I can even see it right now with Google Maps. You show your phone on the street, it's going to tell you like, oh, this building is has what stores in it, or how should you get to a specific location. It'll tell you as you use it real time, and you don't have to use it on the phone. Imagine like in the future you can wear glasses or contact lens. It's going to be very crazy like that in the future. All right, so local is going to be important. How do you optimize for local? Well, Google My Business is the best place for that, right? There's other ways. You can build landing pages that target specific regions, locations, cities, towns, zip codes. There's ways to do that. If you want to not just target globally, you want to target specific areas because your demographics, your user base are in a specific region. So yeah, content is king. It's always going to be king. Some people believe that, hey, don't worry about all the other things about SEO. Just worry about content. It's true, and it's also not true, my personal opinion. But without content, you get your backlinks done right, you get a technical SEO done right, you get keyword research, optimization done right. Without a good, strong, engaging content that's relevant to your users, that answers what they want, help them find what they want, I don't think it's going to be hard to rank well. Content, that's why people are saying content is king, because in essence, we can do all these SEO work really well. We optimize it really well. But if there's a content that also does it, right? Imagine they hire someone, an SEO2 expert to do it. Then what's the difference between you and them, right? It's going to be the content. Content is going to be the critical differentiator. So what makes a good content? Well, you gotta understand the search intent of those keywords that you're trying to target. You gotta understand what type of content needs to show. Is it video? Is it a blog article, right? Is it an image format? Is it a Q&A format? Inside these content, what needs to be there? A graph chart, a table chart, visuals too, video, questions specifically answering quickly, what topics. Those are very important things to understand how to make a content that fulfills search intent. You can't be just creating a page about t-shirts, talking about different types of t-shirts. If someone wants to buy a t-shirt, their intent is to buy, then you probably need a wide selection of t-shirts with different, the pricing and different brand selection, right? So if you understand that, that's how you're able to rank better, instead of just thinking out in the air like, oh, let me just write a page content about this. But it's not that easy. You need to know what needs to be in that content that will help search engines and users find what they need. And then content diversification is going to be important. It's all about UGC these days too, right? What is it? Basically, when users themselves create content such as social media posts, right? Podcasts, right? YouTube videos, all right? Google loves this because it has very high trust level, right? People themselves like it, right? They like to see things from other people, like influencers, right? Everyone's partnering with influencers these days because it works so well. Because if their fans, see something they're promoting, they're going to more likely trust what they're promoting than having a random stranger write a blog post like me. Unfortunately, why would people want to read my blog post, right? If they're not already a fan follower of mine. Same thing. It's the same concept. It's just all about trust. If you have trust, then trust me, people will come. If you can figure that out, people will come. It's all about building trust, building followers, fans, in order to get impressions and visibility. That's why the way Google search engine works is really the same. Alright. And then I was talking about visual search. Video is going to be important. There's people that don't like to read long pieces of article. That's true. But don't believe that there aren't people that still read it. There's definitely still people that read it. Because there's some things that you can't really explain in the video. Right? And this is something that you can't really explain in an article with words. And the other thing is convenience, right? Video, you can probably watch it on the go, right? You can skip to the part that you want to see. And you can, for visual learners, it obviously makes sense. If they're not visual learners, they're trying to read an article to learn something, they're not going to learn as well, right? But sometimes I believe it's both. Some people need text and visual in order to learn, right? Or understand a concept or they're trying to find information on. So optimizing your YouTube video, for instance, because YouTube is the second largest search engine because it's owned by Google, right? Google is number one. So you understand you need to create content also as video. Why else am I doing this video right now, right? Because it's the trend. And then the TA groups are changing. The younger generations, they like convenience more, right? They like to see things quick and straight to the point, right? The older generation used to like, we'll just see what's out there, right? But younger generations are getting smarter because they're brought up with more information, they're more educated in some ways, but there's more knowledge and information. Of course, they're going to have more peculiar needs, right? Like for instance, why will we have restaurants now that let you choose what you want in your meal? Because people are getting more pickier. That's the truth, and that's the reality, and there's nothing wrong about it. Because the taste trends have changed. People are more aware of, what type of sauce I want to use, what type of ingredients I want to use in my food. That's why there's more custom-made products out there these days, because people want to be, younger generations, they want to be more like an individual. They want to be like the older generations, not all, but older generations like, I want to, for instance, I don't want to say this is true for everyone, but if some people, they want to just use an iPhone that just look like everyone else, but some people, they want to use a distinct phone. They don't want to, they want to blend in like everyone else. But the reason why iPhone is such still hot trend is because its usability is just so strong. It is. And the way they market is the branding is so strong. But in the end, in my opinion, more and more people want to have custom, tailored product solutions for them, for themselves, not for everyone else. The way they don't want to jump on the bandwagon anymore. They want to be individuals. So future, you can see this picture. The reason I use this is because I believe hologram is going to be a hot thing in the future too. You don't need a screen, you don't need a surface anymore. Why can't you just use your watch and boom, you got visual content right there? You're searching on you're using your eye to look for information, and you can even see in your contact lens, I'm sure. But if you prefer, seeing it on the front with other people, imagine like this is going to be so important. Like how we design our content needs to adapt to these new changing environments. And then blockchain. I know some people were talking about it back then, and it kind of died off, just like NFT, metaverse, VR, all that. But they're going to be here to stay. I truly believe it. Despite how the market population probably can't accept it entirely yet. And I don't blame them, because if the technology is not there, it's not easy to use, then why would they, right? But it's going to happen. So you see here is Web 0.0, 3.0, 2.0. So what's the difference? 3.0 is what I was talking about, like the immersive experience environment. So yeah, blockchain, basically it's going to help us also just track the fake traffic, clicks, and then even when you think about it, blockchain is going to help a lot of things. It's going to making sure your currency, your money is, is being tracked, properly, instead of getting into the hands of gangs and other hackers once your security is all built up. So blockchain, I believe, is going to happen eventually as well. I know there are still some negative, people who are just not ready to accept it yet, but it's going to change everything. It's going to remove the need to be still holding cash into your hands when you can easily lose it, and people can also counterfeit and do a lot of bad things with it. Blockchain, when everything's turned into digital, believe it or not, even though security is not there yet, but once it's there, it's going to be better than what we have right now. Anyway, so social signals, social signals is going to be important, because think about it, everything is around social media these days, because you can easily get so many visibility impressions just because there's a large group of following or fans for a particular person or brand, right? So Google doesn't say it's a direct factor in how they rank, website content, web properties in their search engine. But indirectly, it does help when you think about it. The amount of likes, the amount of comments, and whether people share even a web property on social media platform, it's in some ways, these are technically signals, right? It tells the system that, these content has positive engagement, right? And when you share these content on social media platform, it's also a link. Technically, it's a social link that directs traffic from one place to another. All right. So security is important, like I mentioned just previously. So making sure you're using HTTPS protocol to protect all the properties, assets, and including visual files to links that you add into your content, website, or properties. Right, because all it takes is one thing that doesn't have a secure protocol to get hackers or spam, virus, malware into your website. So security is obviously going to be important. Think about it. Why would anyone want to use a site that has these virus or gang hack information? Same thing. It's all about user engagement experience. So security is going to be, it is a ranking factor as well. Alright, long tail, like I mentioned previously, it's going to be more and more important. I kind of talked about it in local. Alright, just think about conversational search, voice search. It's going to be, you're not going to be like, hey, what is a t-shirt, right? It's going to be like, hey, how can I get a t-shirt at a blank location for this price, blah, 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 and this color, right? It's going to be long. So understand that that's the trend. Analytics, Google Analytics is trying to incorporate more and more AI, I'm sure, as well. GA4 is a new thing now. The metrics that we're tracking have changed from sessions, right? Well, they still have it to more like events. Whether people are interacting with your content or not. Are they scrolling? Are they clicking the download button, buy button? Are they going to other pages, right? These are more and more important metrics to tell whether the site, web property has value or not. More importantly, in the future, even for SEO tools, I haven't seen any tool that can predict like how much traffic you're going to get accurately, or what rankings you will get, right? If you want to target optimize this content, I believe with AI, it's going to be able to do that. It's going to be able to calculate, if you target this keyword based on competition level, based on current situation, right, and the future situation, what will you get to, right? So we don't have any of that really. Like, there's no accurate tools for that. eventually with AI support and just evolvement of SEO tool technologies, it's going to get there. And last but not least, why else is this company called White Hat SEO Services? Well, because the future, we want to move away from unethical ways of doing marketing, digital marketing, right? Even though it's still happening. But while, think about it, from a user standpoint, how does that benefit a user? It won't, right? Google knows that too. It's having a tough time cracking it all down. Because it's just so many places, so many people are probably doing these things. So we're here to help, right? We want to make sure that we're doing things the right way so that we don't get penalized. Because once you get penalized by Google, your site, it's going to take at least a couple months to maybe years to fix the damage. It's not that easy because Google then knows, oh, you have so many words of backlinks to your site. How are you going to remove that? It's going to take time, right? Unless you build a new page, website, which is going to start from scratch and building those authorities. So that's why it's so important when you are building your web properties that you need to consult an SEO expert, or else you might be facing this issue that's going to be very, very costly for the long term. Even for migrations, don't think that you don't need one. Don't need an SEO expert. Because if you don't know how to redirect pages, then probably you're going to lose a lot of traffic, because that's just how it works. When you transfer a site to a different domain and understand there's so many pages, it's going to be easy to miss some of these pages, and then next you know, why does your rankings drop? Why does your organic search traffic drop? Alright, that's it. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you guys next time. And don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share. Feel free to ask any other questions or want to add to this topic. And I'll see you guys hopefully in the near future. Some of these things will actually come to fruition. Alright, later.